Looking at cleaning up the bell housing. Definitely going to go with new clutch, pressure plate, throwout bearing. So that throwout bearing. Hey, did I ever tell you about how I put one of these in the wrong direction and had to take the car back apart? Yeah, that happened in the 59. So out with the old, in with the new. And make sure you go in the proper direction. So we're going to wire wheel this. Find out what the correct year is on the dust cover for a 61 Corvette. Looks like she was at one time before the yellow. Looks like somebody went with some Chevy engine orange, my personal favorite. Chevy engine orange on the fork, on the shift fork. That's nice. But we're going to try to get this as nice and as clean as possible. 377-9553. Looking for some dates. Don't know if this was the bell housing for the 3-speed. Car was originally a 3-speed. Don't know if this bell housing came to the car later on down the road. But anyway, we're going to get this all cleaned up. Got the tranny out yesterday. Going to clean up on it. First and second, looking good. Third and fourth, H-gate, looking good. Need your help here. I'm supposed to push down on these Hurst competition shifters, and supposed to be pushed down, up and over to activate reverse. Reverse will activate. We just can't get the shift mechanism to do it. So if you got an idea, like, comment, give me some feedback. This is the tranny that came out of the car yesterday. And remember, this car was born a 3-speed and low horse, 283. Really no options. Hard top, soft top, no options. And there were a few options you could have gotten 61, but it's pretty much a bare bones car. At some point in time, my friend's uncle put this tranny in it. Dates, we have December 17th, 1962, and then tail shaft is, oh sorry, that was January 17th, 1962. I don't know what I said there. And then the tail shaft is 12/20/61. So this definitely doesn't go in that car. It would have been in a 62 Chevrolet. Nice little bow tie on the side. T10 4-speed, T10 1C. It does not have the factory shifter. It's got a Hurst shifter, and everything is working fine except the linkage, the actuator for reverse. H pattern's working fine. We got first, second, third, fourth, but we cannot get our actuator on reverse to function. So please comment, give me some ideas, adjustments. I'm going to be watching some other videos and reading up on the interwebs on the adjustment. Typically, most of the Hurst that I'm familiar with, you still have to push down. You still bring it towards you, and then you go forward. Remember, these would have had a T10 from factory lockout 4-speed, which you pull up, comes towards you, and then towards the steering wheel. But anyway, yeah, that's the 4-speed we're going to go back with. Just wanted to clean it up. Don't know of any problems, any issues. Remember, in the 59, we rebuilt everything. Synchros, dog teeth, we spent about a week rebuilding that one, and there was nothing wrong with it. So we're going to presume everything's fine in this one. We just got to make an adjustment to get that reverse working. So this is the intake we're going to be using. Just need to do a lot of careful cleaning here. This all has to be watertight, airtight. Don't want any air leaks. I haven't taken this off to see what year this is. Very popular intake in the 60s. It is a 461. The date on these is actually underneath the heat plate. The plate was put here because underneath here in the lifter valley, you have all this oil sloshing up and splashing up. So this was meant attempt to keep it cool under the carburetor, so the oil, the hot oil, wouldn't go and hit the hit the base of the carburetor where the fuel comes down, atomizes and mixes with the air and the fuel. So this is a kind of an effort at engineering to try to keep things cool. But we're going to clean all this up, get this looking nice, and get all this corrosion and stuff off here, and get this baby ready to install with a little Holly 4-barrel. Okay, real quick. This is the intake we're going to be using. Real popular intake from the 60s, 461 intake, like we were talking about. As we were pulling the oil fill tube today, pulling this thing out, going back and forth, it had a burr on it and it caught the side. I've never had that happen, but I'm going to have a little repair done inside that water jacket, which that's pretty thick aluminum. It's over an 1/8 inch or whatever, but there's a thin spot down there, and there's a little casting line down there, and when it pulled past that, it just kind of grabbed on there. So anyway, this is the intake we're going to use. I'll talk about those camshafts here in just a second. That's the factory crank. We chose not to go with that crank that's standard, never been apart, just because of the amount of corrosion, the amount of rust. Probably would have had to have turned that crank. We bought a parts motor, and the parts motor was standard bore, standard crank. Put a set of pistons, disassembled one of the standard pistons today, and installed a compression ring, and went all the way down through the cylinder, and took feeler gauges, 35 thousandths. Now that's a worn piston ring, and when we took this motor apart, 3 or 4 of those pistons had broken rings. So I'm not sure for the reason of why the piston rings are broken, maybe on install. This was a motor that had been put together more than once, but we're definitely going to be using the rods, possibly new rod bolts, depending on what the machine shop says. We'll have those rebuilt, resized, rebushed, whatever we have to do on small block Chevy rods. Forged internals on small block, small journal, 327, small journal, 283. Big fan of these motors. I will eventually probably sell or use that crank. It's good to have that around. The owner of the car does not want to go back with the original intake. He's got his original correct date code tag right there. WCFB carburetor. We did find his original water neck. I cleaned it up, I painted it. And we even sourced a 300 horse intake, WCFB intake. That is not original to the car. That's a 64. The date on it is November of 63. Actually, that intake was cast the same day, November 23rd, 1963, that John F. Kennedy was shot in Dallas, which was kind of a weird deal when you run the numbers on that. You're like, whoa, hey, why does November 23rd, 1963 jump out at me? But anyway, that is the intake or style intake it would have had, but in all the parts that I got, I couldn't find it. I did find the original water neck. That's always real nice to have. It's a nice looking intake, and I would try to talk him into using the original carb, and we got the original breather. I would try to talk him into that, but that just might be a nightmare trying to get that original carburetor rebuilt and working. It may just work fine. I don't know. I'm not an expert on carburetors or WCFB specifically, and Bolt knows up and getting those things to work, but it's all here. He'll have all the parts. I'll box everything up for him. Yeah, so he wants finned aluminum valve covers. We're going to get him a set of finned aluminum valve covers. As far as heads, we don't know if we're going to go with the power packs or if we're going to go with this set of 1963 461 heads. Remember, 1961 was the first year that you could get you got it, right there, the 461s. You could get them on Fuelie cars. 283 Fuelies came with 461 heads. These are 63s. They've got the big valves in them. Nice set of heads. They cleaned up really nice. May end up using these. I don't know. May end up using these. This power pack heads. Well, if we do use this power pack heads, he's got one original power pack head I know of. They're going to have to be going through. And problem with that is it's the machine shops right now are just taking so long. I don't know if you guys are experiencing problems, but once you get a good machine shop, keep them. Send them Christmas cards, birthday presents, whatever you. Just good machine shops are worth their weight in gold right now. So tranny cleaned up real good. Still need to put some fluid in that. Pretty happy with everything. The original cam. Just talking about the cam we took out of that parts motor. The 283 motor had a couple of what Vice Grip Garage would call circles. We've got lobes that are nothing but circles. This one right here, you can see, guess what? I don't know if that's, I think that would be intake, but that is gone. It's wiped. The one next to it, you see how it jumps out there. It's got the lift. Yeah, still has some lift. This one is what Derek at Vice Grip Garage calls a circle. There's a couple others here, circle. So won't be using this cam. Probably just need to put that in the trash. But this cam here, factory cam. Not the finest quality, okay? I'm just gonna zoom in here and let you see the porous nature of the cast. But by gosh, all the lobes are good. There's no wiped lobes on this, so I'm not sure what kind of metal we were using back in 1961 when we were casting these cranks, but this is a factory GM cam, factory GM gear. We will not be using any of this, but going to keep it with the car. I don't know why. I just think it's a neat conversation piece. Every single one of these looks factory fresh, and it probably could be used, and it probably would run just fine. I just don't want to put it in there. You know, here's your lobe for your fuel pump. Hands are getting dirty here, but anyway, the factory cam probably worked just fine. There's a date for you right there, you dates guys. Out of a 1960 stamped General Motors. This is the factory camshaft, and all the lobes are great. New set of lifters, probably send it. But I think we're gonna go with the Lunati bare bones. So that's where we're at. We're at the point in time where we need to go back together. We're just waiting for the machine shop to tell us what size bearings, what size pistons, if he had to put a sleeve in. That's where we're at. We're waiting to go back together. Weather's getting cool, and that's the update on the 61 Corvette. Hope you enjoyed the videos. Please like, subscribe, comment. Love to hear, you know, whatever. All right? Be careful. Take care. Taking a little break today from the Corvette. I always tell people, never throw anything away. Like this beautiful split bus, ran when parked. Got a couple of beams in here, some original German metal. If it has value to you, it probably has value to somebody else. And they're not making this stuff anymore. I'm talking about the original German, okay? A lot of good people knocking out fenders, knocking out pieces. This individual needs a steering column. Needs a steering column, needs a steering box, needs a pitman arm. So our goal is, don't get bit by a snake. I'm sure there's a couple in here. We're not talking about black snakes. The black snakes are my friend. Those other snakes, yeah. But just don't throw it away, people. If it's German, it goes in this pile right here, including this exercise device that I'm going to get to that. I'm going to start exercising, and this is my year. Ooh, these don't look German. These look like small block Chevy headers, but that's what it is. It's all German. That's either Porsche or it's Volkswagen. Nice little split bus, another split bus beam. All this stuff is for sale. What do we have here? We have a piece of history right here. Reach in here and grab this bad boy out. Try not to get bit. You always want to kick things, guys. Make sure nothing's gonna... Oh, yeah. What do we got here? AJ Foyt. This is at the first brickyard ever ran, at the first wreck that ever happened on the safety barrier. You'll have to look this up. A friend of mine brought this home and gave it to me. I don't know why. AJ Foyt Racing. This was actually the first documented crash for NASCAR into the safety barrier at the brickyard. So it's one of one. So that's why we're keeping it out here in this beautiful museum. Anyway, got a big day ahead of us. Going to pull that, hopefully brought all the tools. Going to be pulling out that steering column and getting the steering box out. All right, we're making gains. We've separated. Tell you one thing, that's bigger than a 22 millimeter. Yeah. Yeah. Let's try to get this thing in the air. We've got success. We're gonna have to do a little cleaning here. You know, you've already, you got to soak everything down. That's just number one. Just waste as much WD-40 on everything you can. Let that kind of soak and simmer. I tell you what we're going to need. We're going to need chisels. We're going to need hammers. We're going to need something to pick all the grease off that. And I think there's three bolts holding the steering box itself. And then this whole thing just comes down. And I don't think this floor is worth saving. So we just might have to just zip cut that and call this a day. Getting pretty lucky here so far. These are all 17 millimeters. The pitman arm. I call that a pitman arm. It's probably something else in America, but Germany, where we're at. It's been sitting a while. It's rusty. These 17s, just give them a chance. Just work them out slowly. Keep using your WD. Yeah, WD-40. There's a product placement right there. I use PB Blaster too. I'm not afraid to use PB Blaster, just whatever's cheapest on the shelf. But give it a little help, and you come for the parts. you know, and you're pulling them off yourself, just a word of warning to you. I was up north one time, little quick story, and I took a headlight bucket off a split bus, and the headlight bucket already had a couple of those little Walmart connectors on it. So I just snip. The guy, literally, he was an old man, and I got the worst cussing I'd ever got in my life, which was basically a prelude to, hey, you just bought the entire wiring harness for that bus. And I said, seriously, these Walmart connectors aren't even factory. He said, he gave me some big old long, yeah, I know. I was done. I owned it. I said, okay. So if you're ever in a yard, you know, salvage yard, and you're parts and pulling and stuff, the guys say they'll pull it for you, or just get the rules. Most people are pretty honest with you and heads up, and I'm going to try to clean all this stuff and make it all nice and presentable and get all the stuff off for the guy that wanted this. He's wanted this forever. He's stayed in, we're like pen pals. He's been emailing me on a regular basis, just couldn't make it into this part of the world, but he needs a steering box, and I said, hey, I'm more than happy to sell it to you. It's just going to take some, it's going to take some time. So we got the 3 on the side of the frame. Yes, buses do have frames. Now we have to dig in and get these 2, and they are just full. So I'm saying this little unit will need to be rebuilt, but I think he'll I don't know. I can't tell if the grease is coming out of the, most likely it wasn't a body joint. It's probably the grease was leaking out of the pump for a while, and they've got these little fillers right here where you just fill them up with more, and this is a 67 Deluxe is what this bus is. Factory horn if anyone's interested. Ran when parked. Good beam underneath it, I know that. Salvage that beam, save that beam, but yep, a few more bolts. So yeah, new plan. We're not going to cut, we're going to actually take that steering wheel nut off. We already did actually, it's a 24 millimeter. Haven't had one in the box. Yeah, I surprised myself. I don't know if the wheel's restorable. He wanted it, I'm gonna give it to him. So we're just going to give it a little tap-aroo, and then we're gonna slide the column down through the twin frame rails there, boys. Yeah, but our job's good for the day. I think we made our point. Going to clean it up for him, make it look real nice. Not going to give him nasty, greasy stuff. Also, give the hardware. If you're going to part something out and you put it on, you know, the Samba or the interwebs or whatever, you know, show up with something that, you know, looks decent. Don't show up with something that looks that nasty. Give them something nice to be proud of. Hey, they're the ones that have to go home and explain to their wives why they paid that for something that looks like that. A lot of money. Here we go. Gonna clean it up. Got the wire brush, Death Wheel 5000, $15 on eBay. Buy 6 of them. They last about 2 weeks. Safety glasses, wire brush, a lot of RPM, wires going everywhere, debris going everywhere, safety glasses. You Volkswagen experts, I've never seen this before. Is that the VIN stamped on the steering box? I've never seen that before. It's definitely stamped. It's interesting. There you go. Help a guy out. The part that he takes home or she takes home to her spouse or his spouse or husband buying this, wife buying this. Now it looks like, you know, hey, I just didn't pay a lot of money for some grease covered junk. I just paid a lot of money for something that needs to be in a museum. These Type 2 steering boxes are really cool. Now, I'm not so sure this isn't nicer than the one I put in my, it is really tight. There's no slack in the, I mean, it is on the button. There is no, that tolerance is pretty good for the year and the age it is. Anyway, if he wants to, or she, it's definitely a he in this case, who's buying it, wants to give a little Craigslist rebuild before he gets home and explains to his wife why he gave $400 for something. I know. Look up the price on the Samba. I couldn't believe it either. Don't throw your Volkswagen, don't throw your Porsche stuff away. Keep it in the field. Someone's going to need it someday.